Morning and welcome back to K Rose.
Good morning, good afternoon.
We are just having this conversation, this debate about why they're treating people so badly. It's a crisis. They're in need. I don't understand why they feel that this is okay to treat them the way they've been treating them, and they should just carry on and no one's not going to say nothing to them. These countries, I don't understand where they get these thought processes from. What do you think?
We as we started the show off talking about it, it's not something where it makes logical, moral sense. We're talking about everybody. They try to, from a government standpoint, it comes down to numbers. Well, the government has to do this or they have to do that, but they don't go through and look at it from a compassionate side. Most of the time they don't. They're looking at it as to, well, how much money we're going to spend on these people, blah, 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 blah.
But it's so true, you are right. But I ain't being funny. Some of these governments, they really need to just stop and check themselves for that. That's so bad. They can see that people are in need. Come on now. And all they need is, to be welcomed and helped, i.e. food, water, the basics of humanity, until they can go to whichever countries are going to take them. And I'm sure there's lots of countries that will take a quota, and say, right, well, we can take as many as this per however. And they let them settle in, try and help them to at least be able to find somewhere to sleep. Worry about the rest of the stuff as time goes on. I mean, yes, of course, it is expensive and money and whatever. But I ain't being funny. Right now, they need to stop thinking about the money and just start being a bit more compassionate and show some human kindness. Because, again, I'll say it again, would they want their, family or whoever to be treated that way when they're just running for their lives? I'm seeing it even now on the news. Oh, my goodness. They're running for their lives, and all they want is somewhere to sleep and just be able to rest their head and just get some food and, medical attention and whatever else they may need. They've been running for their lives for the past however many weeks and months. Is it too much to ask that they just get some help?
Well, again, those people that run the countries, depending on the country. Now, if Germany was sitting where Hungary is, would they have the same opinion? Would they still allow a lot of people to come in? That's a question that probably needs to be asked also. Mm-hmm. And I think they're doing their job. They're accepting more people, I think, than anybody.
Yeah, more than. I mean, we already know these wars, as we've said, is showing no signs of ending. And I suppose these countries have realised, the people in the countries that have had war, they've realised that they can't stay in their country of origin anymore because, infrastructure, economies crumbled. They don't know, as I said it earlier, they don't know if they're going to wake up in their house the next day because their house can probably get bombed and then, okay, that's it. Unfortunately, they've died because they were there. So they've decided against, what they wanted. They've had to leave their country to try and get a better life in Europe, even if they die trying, rather than they know they'll probably die a lot sooner if they stay in their country with all the war going on. I mean, it's a hard choice to make, but it is the right one, isn't it, really? You've got no choice.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. It's not as hard when you look at it as the fact that the only choice is probably dying. And so you will take your family. You can, like we talked about before, we're talking about people who were doctors and who were had professional people, and middle-class people and poor people, just across the spectrum. They all lost their homes at the same time. They were basically pushed out of their cities and having to go to start a new life or possibly die. Period.
Yeah, and I'm not being funny. I have to say this. Certain Western governments have realised that when they decided to engage in the war with countries like Syria and the Assad regime, we ain't going to go there. They contributed to the refugee crisis as it is now unfolding. Because, as I've said it earlier, it's always the vulnerable and innocent that get caught up in the crossfire, and they're the ones that are suffering, isn't it, now? We can see these are the bulk of the refugees that we're seeing. Mm-hmm. And these governments have realised, okay, because of what we did and we've carried on bombing, there's going to be an influx of people who are fleeing for their lives, as we see. Okay, quite rightly so, because it's common sense. You're going to run for your life. I've had to run, but I've never had to run like this, literally for my life. And they're just trying to get to safety any way they can. We can see it. I don't understand why the governments can't see it.
Well, they're meant to, depending on who it is, whether they're liberal or conservative. Conservative people really don't want to pay for anything outside of necessities, and sometimes they don't want to do that. They don't want to, in the United States, fix our roads and some of the other necessary things we need.
Now, you see see, you just hit the nail on the head with what I was about to say, you see? Because I ain't being funny, right? But some of these countries, again, especially over here in the UK, haven't you ever noticed, K-Rose, that these governments, when it suits them, when they want to do something, up until the point they want to do something, they will cry poverty to the nth degree, right? And then all of a sudden, when they decide, oh, well, we need to do Trident or something to do with war, we need to buy a whole fleet of aeroplanes or whatever it is, all of a sudden they just suddenly announce, oh, we're going to spend 200 billion. Hello? I thought you said you never had no money. Hey, where you find that from?
Well, the people who are making the decisions, they decide where they want to spend the money because they're lobbyists, and that's the whole section that I don't want to get carried away on, but those millions of dollars that they spend to create weapons and things of that nature funnel through these corporations, and those corporations lobby the government to do these things. So that's why. I mean, and these people that we're talking about, they don't have lobbyists out there for them.
Well, now we can be the lobbyists because, as I said, I saw it again this week especially, is people are coming forward and saying, I will open up my house to a family or families. I have 2 bedrooms. I have 1 bedroom that a family could have. I can give them my shed. I can give, obviously it's a livable shed, it's not bad circumstances, but if you have like what do they call it? The granny flats and things like that where they can, it's been all refurbished and it's livable. People can live there and sleep there, whatever type of conversion you've got. And they say, listen, I'm going to open up my conservatory or whatever it is to a family or families. Because some people got really big houses, they're very fortunate and they realise, listen, I can help. Now, the UK government isn't looking and saying, oh yeah, let's ask the UK public, would they like us to help a bit more? Because all they're hearing is, oh, we don't want them here. They just keep saying that, but they're not speaking on behalf of the UK public because we're saying something different. We're saying we want to help. We're donating and we're giving food and clothes and even opening up the homes. Where you can, you will try and do as much as you can, isn't it? Because you know that it's a humanitarian crisis.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I don't understand why the governments just look at it and think, oh, you know what, we can't have all these people in our country. I must say this, though, Link 17, K-Rose. When I saw this article, I wasn't sure if the word cartoon was really appropriate because, when you talk about a cartoon, sometimes you see the columnists in the papers and they do all these sort of sartorial cartoons and you think, But actually, when I saw it, I said, actually, no, this is actually a good one because it really sums it up to the nth degree. What they're trying to say is very direct, the depiction kind of thing. And it sums up the world's migrant crisis to a T, as far as I'm concerned. Have you seen? You did see it. I did show it to you, didn't I?
Yes.
Because basically, it's 2 boats, a big boat and obviously a refugee boat in the middle. It looks like it's in the middle of the ocean. And the big boat asks the little boat, where are you from? And the reply comes back, Earth. Hello? I just thought that was just so to the point. Yes, they are human beings. I'm going to say it. Doesn't matter whether they're black, white, green, who cares? They're human beings and they deserve help and compassion like anybody else. And I'm going to keep saying it. How would we feel over here in the Western world as we know it if all of a sudden it was, say if the roles were reversed and we were the ones with the war and we had to flee to places like Syria and so on to get away from the war that we're suffering over here. We would want them to help us, innit?
Well, we'd expect it also.
Well, now, I don't even think they even expect the help, but they're just running for their life. And you have to ask yourself, what would you do if that was you? But the one thing I will say that is disturbing about the crisis, which is link 18, K-Rose, just wow. We talked about this earlier on in the show, people, and Afghan people smugglers profiting from the migrant crisis. Now that side of it is bad, and it's not just Afghan people smugglers, it's just people smugglers across the board. That's not really a business, if you like, that I think is very healthy, because it's bad that they had to, so many people, and they're having to pay a lot of money just to be able to get a space on a boat that isn't very seaworthy at the best of times.
Whenever you have any type of even natural disasters, that happen around the world, there are people that are there trying to benefit from the sorrow and from the problems that other people have. They overcharge people for gas when there are hurricanes and things like that, and tornadoes or destruction, then this is the same thing. They're just taking advantage of these people's suffering, basically.
It is wrong, isn't it? You look at it and you just think, wow, why would they even think about, oh, we can make money from this at a time like this? But there are just some people who are just truly heartless.
Right.
You know, and I remember, again, on the news, I saw this a couple of, I think it was last week or something like that, and one of the reporters she'd actually managed to get a people smuggler to speak to her, and she was asking him, you know, how much does he charge? And he was saying, I think he was saying he charges something like $2,000 or something like that. And she said, okay, what about children? And he said, oh, well, if a child is under 2, they don't pay anything, sort of thing. And I'm just thinking, wow. It's like, are they trying to say that's a discount? Oh, so if you've got children under 2, you should be grateful because we'll let you take them for free, kind of thing.
Well, it's like they're doing like tickets for an airplane or tickets to a bus trip or a cruise somewhere. It's like, here are my prices, and here's what I charge, and you know, oh, well, children free. That's just horrible.
It's in it, and you just think, and all that, and now, so basically, if they ain't got no money, oh, sorry, you can't get on the boat, then bye, and they're just like sail off into the night and leave them on the side of the beach or wherever it is that they've tried to get this boat from.
That's
and just
what they
leave
would
them
do.
to their fate.
That's exactly what they would do.
Wow. And the thing is, the little dinghy that you're seeing is you taking your life in your hand, stepping into that because you ain't sure if it's going to reach wherever the destination, and that's not your final destination. Now, people, we know what you think, but please let us know. Come through at Ask Avani Show on Twitter. Come and find me on social media at Facebook. And oh my God, it's just crazy. It's crazy. We know what you think already because we're seeing your interactions. You're sharing, you're commenting. Okay, Rose, I think we need more time. We need more time to be able to talk about some of these issues, because when you see some of the things that the people are doing, you know, these governments and the laws that they're enforcing, because I mean, link 19, Germany has added border controls. See, even they are like, okay, we can't take it. I heard, right, that the reason why Angela Merkel opened her doors in such a magnanimous fashion, which it is, but I'm sure there's an underlying reason behind it. And apparently, this is the underlying reason. They say that Germany is an aging economy, and they need young people to come in and work, and obviously, you know, work so they can pay taxes and look after the older population as they get old. So this is one of the reasons why she's been quite happy to open the doors as such. But even she's probably thinking now, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't have been so free with it, because they're trampling over all the other countries to get to us, kind of thing. And all the other European countries that are having people come through are getting upset because they're saying they can't handle it. But if you just let them pass, then it wouldn't be a problem, would it?
There's always a means to an end. And I've heard that same thing, and I think that for whatever the reason is, it may not necessarily be the best of reasons. But even if that's the case, and if that, to me, that's a reason. It's differences between reasons and excuses. So that's a reason to me. And so if their reason was so that they could bring in a younger workforce to take care of their aging population, not necessarily the best of the best, but if that young workforce is going to have a better life, which I hope they treat them better. Exactly. I hope they don't treat them like, you know, some type slave type mentality.
Exactly. Yes.
So that, I mean, but to me, the fact that they're doing it, the other countries, unfortunately, you know, they can't build a bridge over the other country, so all they do is travel on the bridge. But they may have to do something where they take an active role with that other country and say, okay, we're going to help transport these people from your country or through your country. We'll invest in that process.
Yeah, they didn't want to do it though. Because, see, the thing is, and obviously, again, because of the language barriers as well, isn't it? See, at some point, they were putting people on buses, but you see, the people weren't quite sure where the bus was going. And you know, another thing that I've noticed is they're starting to have all these camps along the way. So it's almost like the refugees come in over these borders and they're like, oh, we don't know what to do with them. We don't want them hanging around in the fields and all that. So they're putting them in camps. But obviously the refugees don't want to go to the camps, number one. And they definitely, as we've already said, they do not want to stay in these other countries, places like Hungary, Serbia, Croatia, whatever. They don't want to stay there. But they can't say, okay, I don't want to go to the camp. Or they'll just refuse to get on the bus. Obviously, some of them do speak English enough to understand. And they're like, look, I'm not going there. Because I could be in your camp for years. and why are they setting up these camps? This is what I don't understand, because they're saying that they want to register them and then